Gotta kick off the show here.
We're agreeing.
So cleaned up.
Another episode of the MafiaCast. I guess we're holding up footballs to the camera. Mike wanted to show that off really quick. Yeah.
I just surprised you, Ron.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Oh, I'm tired. I'm very tired. This heat in New York, being 90 in like May, that's weird for up here. So like the fact that it's that hot, and I'm someone that I'm begging my wife to move to Florida for like the last 3 years.
And now
but I love the heat and I can deal with the heat, but when it changes from because it's only been about like low 60s here until that heat wave hit. But when it makes that 30-degree jump, oh my God, I'm ready to just lay in front of the AC the whole day.
Yeah, it's a little easier when it's
a
gradual increase.
I've been soaking it up. Got out of work a little early, was able to wash the truck down, get here. So
yeah. Our temperatures here in Idaho are honestly not much different than what you guys get. Difference being, of course, the snow, obviously, but we've been up and down. It'll be like 30s, 40s at night, in the morning, and then we might get into the 60s or 70s. And yeah, I'm with Casey. I like the heat. I grew up in southern New Mexico. I lived in Texas. I did my military training in Georgia in the summertime. I've been to Iraq in the heat. Like, if it's 100 degrees, let's go. I'm ready. Let's rock. But yeah, if it gets into the freezing, like, oh no, this is not for me.
Right.
You ain't wearing flip-flops and shorts, right?
Well, I kind of laugh when, like when we go back to home to see my mom in Texas, and it's like 50 degrees, and people are in their big old coats and sweats and stuff, and Jamie and I are shorts, t-shirt, walking around. They're looking at us like, "What the heck? Y'all aren't from around here, are you?"
That's good weather to get active in,
Yeah,
that's something that that's how I know. One way I know I'm getting old is when you're coming out of winter and it starts getting to be 45, 50 degrees. And next thing you know, I see these kids waiting at bus stops wearing shorts and sandals. And I'm like, oh my God, go home and get a coat on.
You did it before.
I find myself doing it and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's funny to hear you say, "I know I'm getting old," and you're the youngest of the three of us by quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'm starting to become an adult now, so I can I'm starting to see the differences. And I look at college kids, and I mean, granted, I'm only 8 years older than them, but I'm like, you look like a child to me.
Yeah.
It's weird. I'm at that weird age where people are starting to call me sir when they are right around my same age. I mean, I understand I have a beard and everything, but I'm like, oh my God, stop calling me sir.
It's like the rookies that just got drafted, man. Look at these kids, life-changing, going to the NFL.
Right.
And boom,
they look like kids.
Right.
Like Keon Coleman looks so young.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so big.
Right. Like they're all a bunch of
he's a baller,
like children. Like it's amazing.
It's you bring that up, and it's kind of interesting. Like, you think about when you're watching these games, you watch the ESPN or whoever, and they're talking about the players. You never really realize how young they really are. Like yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever it was at Josh Allen's birthday, I was talking to the guys at work, and they're like, "Oh, how old is he?" And I was like, 28. And they're like, "What? He's only 28?"
Yeah.
That's what I'm older than that guy. I'm like, how am I older than the Bills' best quarterback ever? I don't understand it.
Yeah, you just assume these guys are, in their 30s for some reason. But yeah. let's get into the show.
Yeah.
Instead of talking about the temperature and weather like we're old or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So last week we talked about the defense and we had we got into the defensive backs, and Casey just about lost his mind over this concept of moving a corner to safety, though it happens all the time. But
I'm not
we'll move
upset.
on.
I'm not upset about the concept. I'm upset about the players you're choosing to do it with, meaning our
Well,
two starting corners.
well, like I said, it all depends on Kyrie Elam. But I'm not saying that I think that's going to happen. It's just it is a possibility. Today, though, we do want to talk about a few things. So we want to talk about the linebackers, of course, the the defensive line, and then we're kind of going to get into the OTAs a little bit. Let's start with the OTAs, though, since that just happened. Obviously, they're still in the middle of that, but day one of the first practices, I saw a lot of good stuff coming out of there. A lot of videos from these guys, and they're running their routes, catching passes. I assume you guys have seen the videos of Coleman as well, running routes. To me, doesn't look slow. Straight line speed, okay, sure, maybe that's not that great, but his routes looked crisp to me. They looked like he knew what he was doing. And the biggest thing for me that I took out of the OTAs as far as Keon Coleman goes is a lot of the players, veteran players, commenting about his maturity, and they're like, he does not feel or look like a rookie out there. Um, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting kind of excited.
Oh, I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard not to. I mean, I got somebody, well, a personality like that being talked about as well as he is by these veterans on the team. You're, and that goes along with like someone also like Cole Bishop. You heard
Yeah.
Teron Johnson talking about
Yeah.
Bishop, and he was like, he's huge, but he moves like me. He's like, I like, he's just an anomaly. So like it's. Bean definitely went for size and on both sides of the ball.
Mhm.
But Keon Coleman, I'm just so excited, and it's really nice to hear that he was already running with the ones. I mean, obviously he's your first pick this year. He's going to be running with the ones, but the fact that it was first day, first minute, first hour that he was
Yeah.
in there, and Josh was targeting him, and he was the first target in team drills. And whether it was 7-on-7 or 9-on-7, it's just all arrows are pointing up, but they also only have helmets on, so there's a lot
Yeah. That's a big.
lot more to dig into.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. Since we're talking about the receivers, I do want to touch on Chase Claypool. A lot of good stuff coming out for as far as he goes, and I know we've talked about him, and I know there's been some disagreements as far as Claypool. I don't know how many receivers the Bills are going to keep. If they only keep 6, though, like they normally do in most cases, there's going to be some surprise cuts. I've seen even some people saying that Justin Shorter won't make the team. To me, that's somebody that's more likely to find a spot on the practice squad. However, if that happens, can they protect him on the practice squad? Because he would get snatched up in a heartbeat, I think. So I don't know what the Bills are going to do. I do like a lot of the stuff I heard about Claypool and some of his interviews. It does sound like he is, again, it's words at this point. Like we need to see it on the field. But it sounds like he's learned some things from the past, and maybe he has grown up and kind of like realizes, hey, this is it. This is my last shot. I got to get it done.
I mean, you heard we all heard the interview that he did that we're all quoting these sound bites from. Just my overall like perspective on it, it sounds like he's owning everything that he has done in the past. Like he's like, all right, I know I effed up. Like I understand. Like basically when he was like, it's hard to grasp the player. Like he was off to such a hot start, and it was hard to stay grounded. Is basically what he was saying, and he let it get to his head. I mean, and it's hard not to. I mean, I couldn't imagine that any of us three, going professional in something and not, getting a little, to quote my grandmother, too big for your britches. And it seems like he got that. Like he was on track to be an absolute star after his first 2 years in the league. And he just kind of let it get to his head. But now that He's grown up a little bit. He's been in the league this is now his 5th year. Like it sounds like he's matured, like Ronnie just said.
And the better team around him, right?
Right.
Especially should be able to help, because I can't say he was in the best situations, with the past teams he's been with. So that's definitely an improvement too.
Yeah, John Robert brought up a good point that I wanted to get to. But Claypool had said, I'm here to play special teams. I'm here to play receiver. Whatever the team needs, I'm ready for it. And that's big. That's big for somebody to come into the league with his stature, because of the way he started, like you alluded to, Casey. And now to be like, you know what? I'm all in. Let's do this. Let's do what I got to do. I don't care if it's special teams. I don't care if it's water boy. Let's get it done. So it's exciting to hear, because the talent is there. I mean, the potential with him is, I would say, at least a bona fide number 2 in this league.
I wouldn't say bona fide. I would say this year, he could be like the league's best wide receiver, like 4, this year, in my opinion. I don't think that but that's because of the situation he's in. He's got Samuel, Shakir, and Coleman, and I just don't see a world where, unless he just absolutely, lights it on fire, then I just don't see him jumping that. But I could see him jumping MVS and Matt Collins, especially Matt Collins. Collins is mainly the special teamer.
I'm not saying that he could be the Bills' number 2. I'm just saying that that's the talent that he has. Because you're right. Yeah. He's not going to leapfrog these guys, I don't think, unless he's just out of this world.
And if I hope he does. I hope he jumps
100%.
all 3 of them, and he's the next Megatron. Like I hope that he is the next best player.
Yeah, you're saying, like, on a team with not as much talent, it'd be easier for him to accomplish that.
Yeah,
and I agree. His first couple of years in Pittsburgh, he had almost 900 yards each. So,
right.
Yeah. Well, and Mike, you brought up the surroundings and the situation that he's in, and I didn't really think about this before, but you go back to he was with the Steelers his first couple of years, and you guys remember the pregame with Juju Smith-Schuster when he was with Pittsburgh, and he would come out and do his little TikTok dances or whatever on the other team's logos.
Oh yeah,
that's the kind of leadership he had in his early career, and that is not a good leadership to have.
Well,
as a 21-year-old.
In his defense, it doesn't help to have Juju in that same locker room. But his best seasons did come with probably the best leader that he's played with up until, might be still the best leader. I don't necessarily know how Josh Allen's going to handle being the number 1 leader on this team yet. But, he had Big Ben. So, that's the best quarterback he's played with in his career. That was the most stable franchise he's played with in his career. So, maybe basically just trying to repeat that process, and it seems like that's kind of his thought process on it too.
Is it my son-in-law may be listening. I don't know. He's a big Steelers fan.
Yeah.
This whole idea that Mike Tomlin is this disciplinarian, hard coach. When you look at some of the guys that have come through there, the running back, I can't forget the name now, but the one that held out for a year and ruined his career.
Le'Veon
Bell. He wasn't exactly, he didn't go out and get in trouble or anything, but he talked a lot. He was trying to get more money. Like, he didn't come across to me as a team player. Then you had obviously Antonio Brown. And then you've got Juju Smith-Schuster. And then you've got Chase Claypool. Like, to me, there's kind of a little bit of a track record now of guys coming through that organization that weren't exactly team guys. So I don't know necessarily that Tomlin is that coach that people think he is.
Well, to refute that, he drafted these guys, when they were 20, 21, 22, maybe. So they were young. They were kids. We were just talking about that. But in Tomlin's defense, he also knew when to let him go. He let Antonio Brown walk, when he was at the tip top of his career. Juju Smith-Schuster.
That's one of the weirdest situations ever.
It really is. Le'Veon Bell.
Even still,
Tomlin wouldn't budge and give it and make the Steeler Art Rooney give him all that money. that he was looking for. Big Ben, that's probably the only one that he held on to a little long, but I think that's just because they didn't have a plan B yet for Big Ben. So, and then Claypool, again, he knew when to let him go. He traded him away to the Bears for the 33rd overall pick.
Right.
So
they were kind of rebuild mode, right? A little bit.
Yes and no, but I mean, that was when Claypool started to become an issue. That's when he started to talk. I mean, he has a track record. I mean, he got guys that were good, and he made them better. And then the second that they started talking, he was like, "No, we're not going to do this. I'm not going to."
Well, they get better, and then they want better in return. They want to be somewhere better.
Well, I don't necessarily know they want to be somewhere better. I mean, they were all happy in Pittsburgh. They all just wanted more money. Yeah. Like they all wanted to reset the market at the same time, basically.
Yeah.
You just can't do that.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. The wide receiver room is probably the most intriguing position group for me.
For sure.
Through OTAs and once we get into minicamp, training camp, and all of that, because there's people saying that Mac Hollins is a roster lock, which he may very well be, just based on the way Brandon Beane and Coach McDermott talk about him and his special teams prowess as well. But there's one name, and I know we're going to talk about defense, but receivers is big news with Buffalo. There's MVS, to me, is not a roster lock at all. Like, if you couldn't stick with a roster with Aaron Rodgers and you couldn't stick with a roster with Patrick Mahomes, why in the hell do we assume he's a roster lock with Josh Allen? When you have guys like potentially Chase Claypool, Justin Shorter, we don't know what we're going to get with Justin Shorter. And from what I've heard from the OTAs from day one, he looked pretty good. I didn't really hear a whole lot of negative anything coming out from that first practice. John Roberts brings it to Shavers. There's another one at the Bills. They love him. So to me, MVS is not a lock. I think your top probably 4 are stopping with Mac Hollins. After that, it's anybody's guess who the next 1 or 2 might be.
Mike, who do you think the 2 are going to be?
You're saying the 2 after those 4?
Yeah.
Clear or Shakir, Coleman, Samuel. Yeah, I was campaigning for Claypool.
So that's 1. So who's number 6?
I mean, I'd say Hollins because he was involved with the game we were at.
Well, that's still just 5, bud.
Yeah, we're thinking Hollins is number 4.
Okay. I mean, between Shorter
I would
and
agree
Isabella,
with
right?
Yeah, and Shavers and Hamler.
Yeah.
There's some names there.
He's already been there.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Roy a little bit, and that MVS is more of a lock than Claypool currently. But there's a whole lot of weeks and practices to go before we get to roster cutdown day to the 53. And if this is the Claypool we're going to get, making the plays that he was making in practice, I don't think MVS is safe at all.
So MVS is safe because he is the one true, legitimate speed, straight downfield, deep threat. That's what he's done and known for in this league, and Andy's got size. He's thinner, he's slim, but he's still got the height and the arm length. So that's like truly the one thing that this team was missing was just a burner, just like someone to just run the 9 and go. Run a 9, run a deep post, run a deep flag. That's basically going to be like his 3 routes for us, and and a deep crosser. Everybody else, it's kind of becoming a niche like room outside of Shakir and Curtis Samuel, who we talked about like the queens on a chessboard. You can move them all around. They can play all positions. MVS is the guy that you just set him on the outside, let him go, and let him occupy a corner and probably occupy a safety because he's probably faster than that corner.
Yeah.
So and also the contract that they gave him wasn't just, it wasn't a vet minimum contract. It's an incentive laden deal, but there was still a little bit of guaranteed money in it, which that just trying to, like, to quote Greg Tomsett, who's on the show a couple weeks ago,
Follow
the money.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think our top 5 are locks.
The only thing that I would say to push back on that is we paid somebody else $31 million to get out of town.
That's a completely different
I'm just saying
that's completely
they don't care.
different.
They don't care about contracts. They just care about who's going to make the team better. And yeah, maybe they gave him 53-man roster money. But if there's somebody that's outplaying him significantly, that's, to me, I don't think that's going to make any bearing on the decision.
Agreed. But the key word there is significantly. And I don't think there's anybody, behind him outside of Chase Claypool who, I mean, that's my 1 through 5 is Samuel, Coleman, Curtis, Hollins, MVS, and Claypool right now. And MVS, in my opinion, I mean, Claypool's the only one, in my opinion, that can truly outplay MVS. But that would really only be jumping a singular roster spot. So that still only bumps MVS down to 6. I don't see Shavers or Isabella or Hamler or any of those guys really beating out MVS, who has won a Super Bowl the last 2 years and has made big catches in the playoffs. I know a lot of people want to talk about his drop rate in the regular season. Then you go to the playoffs and he catches everything that's thrown his way. So
that's how Gabe Davis was, and he's not on the team anymore.
Again, that's completely different.
How is it
either
different?
you're a fit,
he still
or
disappeared.
Because
there's a reason why we called him Big Game Gabe.
Because we're only paying MVS whatever it is, $3, $4, $5 million instead of paying Gabe Davis $16 million to get 4 catches in a matter of 6 games.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to throw this one out there. Who do you think can block better, Claypool or Scantling?
Claypool or who?
Neither.
MVS?
Neither.
Yeah, neither.
Hey, man. Get that running game going.
Yeah.
Neither. That's why Matt Collins is there.
Yeah, let's move into the defense, because we do want to talk about and get over the talking about this as far as the defensive line, the linebackers, and we might have to get into maybe cuts next week. But before we do that, of course, we've got to hear from John at Game On Sports and our sponsors.
Hey, it's John from Game On Sports Memorabilia. Check out our huge selection of unopened wax boxes of Pokemon cards. You have to see our selection of over 2 million sports cards in stock, plus hard-to-find card supplies. And if you have anything to sell, bring it in. We can help you determine the true value before you sell it. We pay fair market value every day. It's Game On Sports Memorabilia, 2670 Dewey Avenue in Greece. Check out our podcast for news and information on the card and collectible universe. Also, check out our Facebook page.
For more, call 481-2153. That's 481-2153.
Okay,
I see it too. Let's just Monday we're going to talk defense. Today we're talking straight wide receivers.
Really?
Yeah.
It's kind of okay. Well, because Roy brings up actually a really good point. Are you sure they keep 6 wide receivers with 2 pass catching tight ends and 2 pass catching running backs? Do they need 6 wide receivers
for versatility?
So, in the McDermott and Bean era, there's only been 2 years that they didn't keep 6 wide receivers. Last year they kept 5, and the year before they kept 7, and every other year since then they've kept 6. So I mean that's kind of their sweet spot. Now, did they keep 5 last year because they wanted to just give Shorter basically a redshirt year? Maybe, and there just wasn't really anybody else worthwhile keeping. I think because of how, like I was saying, it's such a niche room this year outside of Samuel and Shakir. I think they're just going to go with 6. They're just going to throw darts at a board and see what sticks.
Well, knowing that they kept 5 last year, and I think a big part of that was, I think the intent was to utilize the 12 personnel more consistently with Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid. And from the way that McDermott and Bean have talked in these press conferences recently, sounds like we're in line for that again. So it is possible they keep 5, but there's going to be some surprise cuts potentially there. John Robert also mentioned Shaver, who has so far outplayed MVS. We're talking about one practice. I'm not,
Right.
can't really dig too much into that. But again, there is potential for some guys to outplay MVS because to me, MVS is just maybe above average player, maybe.
But he's exactly who I would want to round out, to be at the back end of our receiver room. Like not somebody that you're relying on every play to be, one of those top 3 guys.
Mhm.
But he is exactly who I would want in that 4, 5, 6 role, to where you bring him on. The second he steps on the field, the defense has to take account for him. So it's just, it's another set of eyes somewhere else that, he could be used as a decoy, and he could be the league's best decoy for all I care. If like I said, if he carries a safety and a corner with him, that opens up 2 zones.
And if they don't fall for it, hit them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly.
We beat up Gabe Davis for being inconsistent, and now we want to give MVS a roster lock, and he's the exact same thing. Different skill set, sure, maybe, but Gabe Davis, you hear this from guys in the league. Being fast does not necessarily equate to taking the top off the defense. Gabe Davis was good at that. He wasn't fast, but he knew how to get downfield and create some separation. And so MVS,
he was a good run blocker, and I'm serious. I bring that up.
But so MVS was the Chiefs' Gabe Davis last year. We basically, if you want to put it in that sense, and then so we lost Gabe Davis. We took the Chiefs' Gabe Davis, but we're paying $13 million less and asking him to actually do less. We're not asking him to be our number 2 wide receiver. I don't like. That's what I really why I'm so excited about him is because he's not going to be pushed and relied upon every down, every play.
Well, John Roberts brought this up a few times, so I'm just going to say this. When we get into the regular season and MVS is wide open for a 60-yard bomb and drops it, we'll revisit this conversation. That's where I'm at. It's just the inconsistency is worrisome for me.
Sorry, I had to do it.
There goes Casey making the fireworks go off. Let's get into defense. I do want to get into the defense. And thank you again, John, for bringing this up. So let's go ahead and start with this guy, Javon Solomon. I did see some video from him in his practice. The guy is an athlete. He's got that bend that Bruce Smith talked about in Super Bowl week that is paramount when it comes to elite pass rushers. Sure, you've got some power guys. Sure, you've got some guys that are fast, but can you bend? That's what separates the good from the great. And Solomon, he might be that guy. I think he makes a 53.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as getting starting role over who I believe will be the starters, Von Miller and Gregory Rousseau, I don't think that'll be the case. But what do you guys think?
Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, kind of he's got that bend, right? And when you say that, it makes me think of Von Miller too, and they're kind of built the same, right? Same height, similar weight, or close enough. And I mean, all of a sudden we got so much depth. It seems like when we were really worried about it.
Happens when you got 90 guys playing on the field right now.
There's definitely some depth pieces there. Are they good? I don't know yet. We'll see.
Right.
AJ Epinesa, you hope can improve on his 6.5.
Oh, he will.
He's who. That's why I had that face when you said you expect Von Miller and Groot to be the starters. I don't think they're going to ask Von to be the starter this year. I think they're going to ask Epinesa and Rousseau to be, the downs 1 and 2 guys, and then they're going to bring Von and probably Javon Solomon in on on 3rd down or 2nd and long, and that's when you can even take Daquan Jones off the field, move Ed Oliver over, and put Greg Rousseau in at that 3-tech, like they started to do a decent amount last year, actually, more than I was expecting them to. So then you've got 3 solid pass rushers going at once. And again, that's taking Epinesa off the field, who like you just said, had 6.5 sacks for us last year. So I think that Von and Solomon are going to be like the situational players in Epinesa and Groot. I'm really excited for Epinesa. I've liked him since we drafted him. I loved him coming out of college. His body's finally right. They just signed him to a 2-year extension. I really think that he's going to have a good year this year.
Yeah. Well, there's two other guys too, Dwayne Smoot and Casey Toohill. Smoot, he had 5 or 6 sacks in the last 4 or 5 years. So
right.
And Toohill, he's coming off 5 sacks last season with Washington. So
yeah, I don't know what to think about Dwayne Smoot or Casey Toohill.
Smoot, I'm a fan.
I feel like we've seen this movie in Buffalo way too many times where they bring in guys that had a decent season and then they don't really perform at that same level. Even like last year, we saw Leonard Floyd came out, guns a-blazing, but then he fizzled the last 5 games and 0 sacks. Speaking of him, did you guys see his comment today about wanting to play for San Francisco and why he chose them?
I was just about to ask you guys that.
I did not.
And that was going to be my rebuttal to you to that. Now, in hindsight, does that not kind of seem like he might have just started slowing down himself a little bit last year, that he wasn't happy in Buffalo and that he stopped going balls to the wall like on his own, under his own like fruition?
Yeah. Do you think he wanted like a bigger role?
Yeah, like
he was out there quite a bit, so I don't know that was necessarily the thing.
But
with the need was there, like if you had it, you would have done it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that's like he was doing it, and then all of a sudden he just stopped. There wasn't really an injury that he was going through. Know. He wasn't too old, so like after that quote came out, my first thought was, okay, so did you quit on the Bills last year? If this is how you're talking about them now. So what was your mindset back then when you I guess came to this realization?
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I really don't. I don't know why he disappeared. Maybe there was something going on. Maybe he was upset with the fact that Von Miller was still getting playing time when maybe he shouldn't have been. I don't know, but
that could be it.
When I heard his comments about wanting to play grown man football with San Francisco because they play grown man football, to me, quote unquote, grown man football is a mentality, not a team thing. Right. I understand where he's coming from. Maybe a physical style of offense where they run the ball, or a physical style of defense where they attack a little bit more, something like that. But when you're on the field, if you're not already playing grown man football, regardless of the team, to me, I got to question where you are mentally. Like, are you playing pee-wee football out there in the NFL? Because that's what it looked like the last 5 weeks.
That's the highest level.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like, where was his mindset? Like, what was his mindset? Like, did he I don't know. Like, and I love Leonard.
Did he want to do more? And they just.
I'm pretty upset that like this quote came out and like he said that, because I was a huge fan of him, when he was with the Bears. He was with the Rams, and I was pumped when we got him last year.
Yeah.
So
he just came out with that quote
today.
Yeah, that was earlier today.
Yeah, that's a jab at us because we're playing later in the season. How about that? He just had to throw one out there. You know what I mean?
Oh, I hope Josh stiff arms the shit out of him.
That's why.
It's crazy. God. It's crazy how many games we play this year against former players.
Yeah,
there's a lot of them.
He's the schedules come out. Floyd. They know they're playing. He's like, you got to switch sides now. You got to establish it. So
but you don't. Yeah, but you don't got to take cheap shots.
No. So. Another player that John brought up here, Dwayne Carter, I am pretty excited about what he's going to bring to the team. I feel like he might actually be the Ed Oliver replacement, not replacement, but what's the word?
Running mate.
Counterpart.
counterpart, running mate, to spell Oliver and not really see that much of a dip in ability maybe. And speaking of Oliver, one of the things that I would like to see them do with him is kind of what the Rams did with Aaron Donald and move him around a little bit more. He's almost exclusively in that one tech spot, three. Move him to the outside, move him on the edge, see what, put him, create some different mismatches there for him and see what happens.
Switch it up.
Yeah, I would like to see
They did start to do that a little bit last year, but only a little bit. But I agree with you. It'd be like purely just switch he and Groot, see what happens. Send one of them on a stunt with it, Groot's
we know Epinesa can play inside, move him inside, and switch it up.
Groot's got 30
or just run more stunt plays,
arms.
right?
All he's got to do is just open his arms and turn, and Ed Oliver can loop back around the middle.
Yeah.
All right, really quick, we're going to move on to the linebackers. Before we do, though, if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook right now, please hit the like, follow, or subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube, please jump over to YouTube, follow us, or subscribe to us at the MafiaCast. We want to build up that subscriber base and see if we can get to 500 before the season starts. It's been a little slow going, but there's over 100 people watching us live right now. If all of you guys jump over to the YouTube side, it'd be great. The linebackers. I don't know that there's really a whole lot to talk about here, honestly. We know who the starters are going to be. However, the one question we might have is, will Matt Milano start the season?
I think he's going to be fine. I mean, you heard McDermott say he's on track and on schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, he got, it sucks to say, but he got hurt early enough in the season last year to where, I mean, he was at Micah Hyde's charity softball game. They announced he was there. He didn't participate at all, which is just a precaution, right. And that made me happy. Mike and we were kind of talking about it there. There were some things that we learned about that, like about the players and their health during that game. Spencer Brown, last year's home run derby champ, didn't participate at all. He didn't play the field at all. All he did was pitch, the slow pitch softball. So, he's clearly still dealing with a little bit of shoulder soreness or the injury from last year. So it's Matt Milano. I think we're going to be fine. Mike and I, we were just talking right before Ronnie got on the show, actually, about the linebackers and who, like how many do we keep, and who's still there. And I think it's going to be kind of clear cut. Deion Jones and Nick Morrow are going to basically have to beat out Balen Spector, because I think, we got the two starters, then Dorian Williams, and then I can't even say his name, Ulapashio out of Notre Dame, So he was, I believe, a 5th-round pick, but, he's a toolsy guy. He's exactly what the Bills are looking for in a linebacker. So I think he makes it, and he plays special teams. And then, you're looking at that 6th spot at Balen Spector, Nick Morrow, and Deion Jones. And I think the two vets are going to have to really play well this preseason to beat out Balen Spector.
Yeah, we're going to agree to disagree on that one. You got to be on the field to actually beat anybody. I
tell that to both of those old guys too. Deion Jones has had injuries in his career, and so is Nick Morrow. And Nick Morrow is about as good at covering pass coverages as the three of us are combined. So
I don't think Balen Spector is a lock for the 53 this year.
I don't either.
I think Dorian Williams is going to be better than a lot of people might expect. In fact, I think he'll probably be linebacker 3. Deion Jones has been a really good linebacker in this league before. It's another one that, we don't know why he kind of fell off, but he's
like 29, right?
I was going to say he's not that old, but
he's old in football years.
He's not
Dwight's
getting
dog
young
years.
I mean, Von Miller's 36, right? He's still out there playing well. We hope he was playing well. But no, I was going to say Deion Jones is one of those that back in the day when I was playing Madden, Deion Jones was one of the fastest linebackers in Madden. So I always went out and traded for him and added him to my team because he's fast, and he was, like I said, one of the better linebackers. If we get that guy, I don't know. I don't think Balin Spector. I would not be shocked if he doesn't make the team at all this year.
I wouldn't be shocked, but right now, just as it stands, when he is on the field, he does play well, and he's been around the team for a few years, and so just being on the team for the last couple of years, I think that's kind of the benefit of the doubt when it comes to Sean McDermott. When it comes to these back end roster cuts, fighting for this 5th, 6th spot, linebacking spot.
So I don't know what this is.
I don't either, but put it up. I don't either, but put it up.
So we've got somebody in the comments that I'm only liking and subscribing after a foot reveal. Nobody wants that for me, so we'll leave it up to you.
Oh, man.
I have socks on right now. I can do this right now.
Let me take a picture. I'll take a picture and hold my phone up to the. I'm not lifting my foot over my head.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't. I would probably pull a hamstring and fall over my chair.
Oh my God, Ronnie, do it.
If he tell him to DM a picture, DM us a foot pic to the Facebook page.
All right. Is there anything else with the linebackers? And then
Casey will show at one live.
I think we're all in agreement that it sounds like Milano is probably going to be ready for the start of the season. It sounds like he'll be ready for training camp. So that's awesome news. I don't really see any other surprises coming out of there in the linebacker room. I do like the fact that there is a lot more depth, though, at least on paper, than what we had a year ago. And I love you, AJ Klein, but
you beat me to it. I was going to say, as good as he played for us last year, driving straight here in his RV, I think it's just time to go our separate ways.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't get to that point this year, right?
Well, hopefully. I will go to my grave saying the last 2 seasons, injuries is what killed this team. I know there's a lot of people out there that want to fire this person or that person or cut this one or whatever. Injuries absolutely derailed this team the last 2 seasons. You even looking at that Chiefs game last year, I 100% believe that if Terrell Bernard could have gone in that game, Travis Kelce would not have eaten us up like he did, and that game would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I think if Bernard plays, we win, just period, point blank.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
And real quick, me 2000, we were just kidding. Please don't overwhelm us with feet picks. If so, send them to Mike Yanni.
No. Casey, really, just find Casey on the Twitter machine. And just go right directly to him because he. Yeah.
We are gonna get on up out of here. We'll come back next Monday night, 7:00 Eastern time. We'll have some more OTA news, some more practices coming up. We'll talk more about the roster. We'll probably talk more about the wide receivers because I'm sure we're gonna have more news on that.
Just can't help it.
That's the hottest topic right now in Bills Mafia. Everybody wants to know what's going on with wide receivers.
So much talent, variety of talent there right now.
Or lack of. We've yet to see which way it's going to sway.
It's looking good. We'll put it that way. But yeah, until the pads go on and they actually start hitting and making some plays on the field, we'll talk about it. But we're going to get out of here. Yours truly has a 4-day weekend that begins as soon as I sign off here. So I'm excited about that. And
nice.
Yeah. Unless you guys got anything else, we're out of here. Go Bills.
That's it. Go Bills.
Ronnie, play your Madden games. Screw the Dolphins. Tell your friends, go Bills.